Once my lesson is ready, there are two ways that I can share it with my students. I can share it through a live participation, or I can share it through a student-paced lesson. So let's start by assigning this one as a student-paced lesson. So what this means is the students will be given a link to access the particular lesson, and they'll be given a join code. And when the students go to either the Nearpod app or to the website using this address and enter this join code, they'll be able to join the lesson and start working through the lesson. So now I've gone to the Join Nearpod website, and I'm going to enter the student code in. And once I've entered the code in correctly, I'll be taken to the lesson to work through the lesson. So I'm going to be jumping between the two windows to show you what the teacher sees and what the students see. So this is from the teacher's perspective. I want to view the progress of the lesson. And my student sees this particular window. So once I've entered the code in, it's asked for my name. I can put in an optional name, and then I'm going to join the lesson. So it starts with that open-ended question that we plan. So here's that open-ended question. And so you can see from my perspective as the teacher, I can see the student that's entered the lesson. And when I click over, I can see their answers. So using the side arrows, I can go backward and forward and see their answers. Along the bottom, I can see how many students are participating in the lesson, how many or what part of the slide they're up to, and I can then show individual details. And because this is a self-paced lesson, my student, which is me, is able to just work through it at my own pace and then submit. And that will take me to the next slide. So you can see now, if I just refresh my screen here, it tells me that this particular student is happy and they've participated 100% in the lesson so far. And so, like I said, because it's self-paced, the student's just going to work through the process themselves in completing the lesson. And you can see it's taken me to this where I can open the web page, etc. Now, if it was a live lesson, which I'll show you what a live lesson will look like in a minute, the teacher controls the student's progress through the lesson. So right now the student has the power and they can just click through and just work through the lesson at their own pace and complete the different activities at their own pace. With a live participation lesson, my students are forced to wait for the teacher to move the lesson along. Okay, so again, looking back here, I can just see what my student is seeing, and I can see, how they're progressing. I can see the results of their activities. But if this was a live lesson, they wouldn't be able to continue on until I pressed the next button. So I'm going to now pause this video, and I'm going to start a live session and show you what a live session looks like. So again, I'm back in my landing page, and I'm going to click live participation this time. And then from this live participation menu, I'm going to get the join details again. So the website information or the app information and the code. And you can see I also have the option of sharing this through a link, through an email, signing it into a Google Classroom, popping it into Microsoft Teams. I can also, if my school has a purchased Nearpod account and is linked to my Zoom account, I can launch a Zoom meeting at the same time as launching a live lesson. So I can be on Zoom and running a Zoom meeting with my students and talking them through the live lesson that they're going to work through. So I'm just going to open up a new web browser, put in that address, which is what my students would do to join a live session. And then they're going to copy this code, or you can use the copy button over here. And then in this section where it says enter code, the teacher gave you, I paste it and I hit join. Now, I'm just going to jump back to the teacher view. And you can see that I'm waiting for students to join the lesson. So again, it asks them to enter the lesson by entering their name. They join the lesson and they can't actually do anything. So it's taken them to this screen that says it's question 1. You will have 1 minute. Wait for your teacher. So in order for the student to complete this lesson, I hit the start activity on my end. And then on their end, they're given the lesson. So they submit, and you can see they can't go on to the next thing. Whereas I can, once I refresh this, see that the student has responded and is waiting for me to move on to the next session. Okay. Now, the other great feature about live participation, you can use this share button. So I can actually share the responses of my students with everyone in the live session. So, and if I want to, hide the names for to keeping people anonymous, then I just hit that toggle button. And if I click this over here, my students can see all the different responses to the particular activities. So I'm going to move on to the next activity. And you can see this moves on the slide over here for my students. And then again, and then now they can see the next slide. So with the live participation elements, the students are forced to wait for the teacher to release the next lot of learning. So it's a different way of sharing your lesson, and it's a different way of encouraging students to explore the lesson and having more of that teacher control. It also works really effectively if you're on a Zoom and you're able to talk through a lot of the activities and the content with the students. Whereas a self-paced, you might get the students to work on that beforehand and then come to a Zoom meeting to discuss it after.